3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Welcome back to TTMTrades. Today we're going to be talking about my plays for the week. I just got back off a 14-hour road trip, so I'm kind of recording this video late, but I definitely want to get it out. So this week, what I'm going to be looking at, I got 4 option plays I'm going to be watching, and then just 2 regular swing trades. So we're going to be talking about ticker BYND, Beyond Meat, Bloom Energy, ticker BE, MNK, and GBTC, which follows Bitcoin, to T, Netflix, and Tesla. All right, so let's just jump right into it. So we already have Beyond Meat pulled up. As we can see, Beyond Meat, I did a video on Beyond Meat quite some time ago, probably about a week and a half ago, on what my expectations were for ticker BYND. So if you didn't watch that video, go back and watch it. But it has played out exactly what we was looking for. As you can see on the weekly, we had that run up, and then these long wicks at the top showing some selling, and then immediately a bottom wick that showed some buying this past week. And this is our current setup. Again, my 150 period SMA correlates to the middle Bollinger Band on the next higher time frame. So the 150 SMA here on the daily correlates to the weekly's middle Bollinger Band. Okay, and again, that helps me identify what the price action and where it's at, what the price action is doing, number one, and where it's at in reference to its higher time frame. So again, that double rejection by the 150 period SMA, the weekly's middle Bollinger Band, as the price action began to pull back, you've seen some slight buying with a light selling, and then you get this surge of buying on the last day of Friday. Okay, now anytime a stock is in a strong uptrend, okay, on the Shande meter, it will hold above its 2 averages, which I have on here, which is the 30 and 75 period moving average. So as you can see, we initially got that signal that ticker BYND was starting to shift its momentum, and then we finally got the breakout. Now as it pulled back, it found support right on this 30 period SMA, which is the short-term moving average, and it's beginning to reverse and start to head back up. Okay, so that shows that the short-term momentum is beginning to shift, and it's still very strong. Now on the RSI, again, I keep 2 moving averages, the 10 and the 30. But one important thing to notice about the RSI, whether you use moving averages or not, anytime a stock is in a strong uptrend, when that RSI pulls back, it will hold above its 40 and 50 as far as a stock staying in a strong uptrend. Anytime a stock is in a strong downtrend, it will stay below 50 and 60. So as you can see here, ticker BYND, as it went into that strong downtrend, it struggled to break above 50 and 60, and then finally broke into that strong downtrend. Now that it broke out into that uptrend, as it pulled back, it found support right at the 50, and it's starting to curl up along with the Shande to break back above its 2 short-term and medium-term averages. So 2 very bullish signals from 2 indicators that I use. Now as far as my Bollinger Bands go, again, with the middle Bollinger Band, anytime a stock is in a strong uptrend, it will hold above its middle Bollinger Band. Anytime the stock pulls back but holds above that middle Bollinger Band, then that stock is in a very strong uptrend, and that trend has not been broken as of yet. Okay, so as you can see here, ticker BYND pulled back as it hit that 102 area right above the middle Bollinger Band. It immediately some buying power, and it's starting to push back up. Okay, so as far as options, I've already entered calls on ticker BYND sometime last week, and we made an immediate 100% return on ticker BYND on our small account challenge. Okay, and we'll get into that one later, but I just want to show you the calls that I entered for ticker BYND, and then the calls that I jumped back into on Friday prior to the week closing out. So I already have a position in ticker BYND. So I'm going to pull up my trade journal so that way you all can have a look. So as far as last week, we took 113 calls on ticker BYND. Hold on one second. Let me shift the screen so that way you all can see it. Oh, never mind. All right, so we took 113 calls on ticker BYND. As we seen the price action on the intraday charts, we zoomed in. Number one, we wanted to see how the price action would react intraday. So we zoomed in on the 2-hour chart, and further into the 30-minute chart. And my signal is once the price action crosses over its two averages, as far as its 30 and 75 on the PMO, again, that lets me know that the momentum in the stock has begun to shift. Okay, now as far as the PMO, I've smoothed it all the way out from its original settings. I've smoothed it all the way out to 30, 75, and 10, so that way it eliminates a lot of the noise. So as I begin to see the PMO shift back above both its averages, because we knew this one was in a strong downtrend, seeing that it could not hold above the 75 period SMA. So as it began to curl up, rejected, we knew that the momentum was shifting more into a bearish state. So once the PMO began to recover, this is when I began to start paying attention, and I saw that it was struggling right with that upper Bollinger Band, which was sitting right at 113. So we took 113 calls, saying that the momentum was shifting, okay, and that the Shanghai trend meter was holding above its average of 75. So we took 113 calls at a price of 419, and then once we had the breakout right here, based on the Bollinger Band squeeze, we knew that the stock was in a low volatility, so we knew high volatility was right around the corner. So once we had that breakout up to 120, we immediately sold those 419 calls for $8.98, taking 113% profit on our entry. Okay, now one thing we began to watch, we knew that it was going to pull back because it was struggling with that 120 area, which correlates to the 2 hours chart outer 2 standard deviation Bollinger Band. So as we begin to see the price action struggle, we immediately closed out our call position, took the 113% profit, and then we zoomed all the way into the 5-minute chart to see when the PMO would begin curling and or if it would fall below its zero line. So again, we were able to time the breakout again on the 30-minute chart. If you zoom into the 5-minute chart, we started getting that early signal again on the 5-minute chart with the PMO breaking out and that small uptrend and then the run up. So we started seeing again that it was struggling with the 2 hours charts, 2 standard deviation top Bollinger Band. So we zoomed in on the 5-minute, watching the PMO momentum begin to shift, close out our calls, and we wanted to see if the PMO would fall below that middle, below its zero average. So as you can see, it started coming down to the zero line right here, and now it's starting to flatten out with some buying on that last 5-minute of the day, holding above its 150 period moving average, which correlates to the 30 minutes chart middle Bollinger Band, as you can see right here at 114 and 114.56. So what we want to see going into next week is we want to see the PMO flatten out on Monday and hold above that 114. As it begins to flatten out and hold above that 114, with the Bollinger Bands constricting, hence being reflected in the Bollinger Band width, then we know we'll get another breakout to the upside to reattempt that 120. But we know overall for a strong uptrend to begin, we need to break above the weekly's middle Bollinger Band, which is currently sitting at 124, give or take. All right. So with that being said, if we could break above this 124, which we know will be attempted sometime this week, then we know we can get another strong uptrend started. But alone, we've already entered 120 calls on ticker BYND at a price of $3.80, knowing that the price action, well, we're not going to say knowing, but just based off our technical analysis, knowing the price action is going to attempt that 124, which is currently acting as a resistance, which is the 150 period SMA. So that gives us about an 8 point spread on our options for a possible 100% gain again. So ticker BYND is on watch. Next, ticker BE. All right, so with ticker BE, as you can see here on the weekly, it has been on a strong uptrend. As it breaks a higher, pulls back, creates a higher low, and then again makes another higher, pull back, creating another higher low, and now as you can see, is beginning to break out of its top 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band, which initially rejected the price action, and now is heading upward to attempt that 2 standard deviation top Bollinger Band, sitting at 1137 on the weekly chart. So we talked about ticker BE back in December when it finally had this uptrend right here and a slight pullback to hold above its 30-period moving average, which is the middle Bollinger Band. So again, remember, as we said, anytime a stock is in a strong uptrend, okay, one, the Shande will hold above both its moving averages. The RSI will not break below 40 and 50, as you can see here on each pullback, as it showed the momentum begin to shift as it fell below its averages. It hit 50 in that 40 to 50 range, and then immediately begin another uptrend. And then, as you can see here again, it hit that 40 to 50 range, and it's starting to begin another uptrend. All right, PMO still holding strong in positive territory above both its averages, with the Bollinger Band width falling below its moving average, showing that the price action is currently consolidating. So again, one of our double Bollinger Band strategies is where there's low volatility, then that means there's high volatility to follow, because volatility is cyclical. Okay, so as you can see here, volatility was at a very high point. As you see, it broke above its averages as the price action began to move out of its bands from 512 to about 1005. It pulled back, and now it's beginning to consolidate in that 771 to 1040 range. Now we know, again, we have a strong feeling based off our technical analysis that BE is going to continue this uptrend and break out of that 1040 band, and it's going to attempt this 1137 band on the weekly chart, looking at a higher time frame. Okay, so if we zoom in on the 2-hour chart, we can see that we had that slight pullback on the 2-hour chart from 1050 down to 757, which is reflected here on the daily, as it hit the 150 period SMA, which represents the daily's middle Bollinger Band, sitting here at 757. As we go back to the daily chart and hit that middle Bollinger Band, there was immediate buying, which immediately pushed the price action back up. So you can see that here being reflected on the 2-hour chart. And anytime again, a stock is in a strong uptrend, it will hold above its middle Bollinger Band. So as you can see here, it's holding above its middle Bollinger Band on the 2-hour chart, and it's showing a lot of strength because it's holding above, it's holding in those upper two Bollinger Bands, the 1 standard and the 2 standard deviation, which often reflects that an uptrend is about to start. So we can see here on the 2-hour chart, very nice setup. It's above its 150 period SMA and holding above its middle Bollinger Band as the price action consolidates on the daily chart, preparing for a breakout this week on a day-to-day basis. Now, all intraday charts are aligning. As you can see here, that pullback in a more fine line detail on the 30-minute chart from 1050 to 757, which you could see early. You started getting early warnings on that pullback as the PMO began to fall below its averages and unable to recover. That's your warning that the price action is about to pull back. So as the price action pulled back, immediately the buying occurred and it broke back into positive territory and is now moving sideways to show that the price action is consolidating on the daily chart, as we said, hence the low volatility. So what we want to see here is we want to see that the PMO continues to move sideways as the 30-minute chart consolidates. Looks like we're going to get a strong breakout here to the upside as the average begins to converge on the Bollinger Bandwidth. And we want to see that ticker BE pushes up to that 1137. Now with ticker Netflix has been on a very bullish run, and as you can see here on the weekly chart, it has been holding on a very strong uptrend, in which each pullback it has been on very light volume, as you can see here, and it has continued its breakout, and it is breaking above its 2 standard deviation Bollinger Band to show that on a week-to-week basis, Netflix is beginning to go on a uptrend, all right, which is also reflected on the Shande and the RSI, all right, and the PMO flattening out. Now, with that being said, looking at Netflix on a day-to-day, we talked about Netflix, give or take a week and a half ago to 2 weeks, when the price action was consolidating here right around that 338 to 345 range. We did give everyone a heads up that Netflix was going to break out. No one was paying attention to it, and it was a good opportunity to play call options. As you can see, Netflix broke out of that 340 range and pushed up to 375, okay, give or take, giving you about a 34 point spread on your call options if you did decide to play it. Now, Netflix is in a very strong uptrend, but Netflix looks that it seems that it will have a pullback this week, probably Monday, Tuesday, going into Wednesday, before that uptrend continues. So even though it looks strong on a day-to-day basis on the daily chart, again holding above that 30-period moving average each time on each pullback holding above that 50 to 40 area on the RSI, as you can see here, here and continuing its uptrend, and the Shonday still holding strong above its averages, we know Netflix is in a very strong uptrend. The PMO is in positive territory, holding above both its averages, so we know that the uptrend is intact. Okay, what we can see here on the horizon, if you zoom in a more fine line detail, if you go to the 2-hour chart, the RSI has already fell below its 2 averages, showing that the upward trend on an intraday basis has begun to slow down, and that Netflix does need to pull back. Okay, so if we zoom in on the 30-minute chart to see this pullback in a more finer detail, you can see that the PMO has already flattened out on that uptrend and show the momentum is slowing down and has now begun to cross below its 2 averages and is being reflected in the price action. Okay, so with that being said, Netflix is about to pull back. Where do we think Netflix is going to pull back at? As you can see here on the 30-minute chart, Netflix pulled back to test that 150 period SMA, which is the 2 hours chart middle Bollinger Band. Okay, so we think Netflix, again, before it continues this uptrend, is going to possibly pull back to that 354 to 355 range to test that support one more time before it continues this uptrend and continues to push upward. All right, again, that 354 will correlate to the 2 hour chart's middle Bollinger Band. Okay, and the middle Bollinger Band is sitting at 358, so it's off give or take $4. All right, so we want to watch that 354 to 358 price range. All right, we zoom in a little bit further. As you can see on the 30-minute chart, Netflix is topping out on the 30-minute chart. So we zoom in on the 5-minute chart, we can already see the pullback beginning to happen, and Netflix is starting to go down into a downward trend. Now, do we think Netflix is going to run all the way down to 354? Possibly. All right, but we do know Netflix is pulling back, and then before Netflix can continue an upward trend, this PMO needs to flatten out and start turning back to the upside. Okay, so with that being said, we do believe Netflix is going to pull back, give or take, to that 354 to 358 range before curling back up. So keep an eye on Netflix. Good opportunity to play puts, but do not expect Netflix to go on a strong downtrend. It's a good opportunity to play some puts real quick, make a quick profit, give or take 40 to 50%, and then as Netflix begins to reverse the continuous uptrend, a good opportunity to reposition yourself heavily to be a part of that uptrend with calls as you continue to move upward. And last but not least, Tesla. All right, so as you can see here, Tesla has been in a very, very strong uptrend and has been running since October. Okay, we alerted Tesla back in October, again, when the PMO and everything began to align like we always look for. Is the price action above its 150 period SMA? Yes. Is the PMO trending upwards in positive territory, holding above both its averages? Yes. Is the RSI holding above 50 and above its averages? Yes. Is the Shonday trend meter holding above its averages? Yes. Is the price action above its 30-minute Bollinger Band? Yes. So Tesla, we've been watching for quite some time. Now, we didn't think it would make this big of a move, but it has been on a very bullish streak. So again, Tesla is in a very strong uptrend. One, every time it pulls back, it holds above that middle Bollinger Band. Initial pullback on that 327, and then it pulled back to 402, holding above its top 1 standard deviation. And as it pulls back, each time it's finding support and running up. Now, it did have this over dramatic push last week to where some immediate profit taking took place, and then some bears came in to short it, and Tesla did pull back. Now, did Tesla sell off? No, it did not. It actually pulled back, and it held above that 1 standard deviation, and it showed a lot of buying power right within this range of 687 up to 793 and or 800. So there's some buying going on right in this general area, okay, on a day-to-day basis. Is the overall uptrend still intact? Yes, it has not broken down. Now, if we zoom in and we look at the 2-hour chart, all right, on the 2-hour time frame, you can see, like we said, PMO trending up, RSI constantly holding above its 40 and 50. Each 50 pullback, it bounces off and it runs. And the Shonday trend meter is still in the green zone, showing that the trend is very strong. So what are we looking at? All right, again, looking at Tesla on a 2-hour time frame. Each time it pulls back, 30-minute Bollinger Band support, run up. 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band support, run up. 30-minute chart, run up. 30-minute middle Bollinger Band. 2-hour middle Bollinger Band, run up. Middle Bollinger Band, run up. All right, over drastic run up, a lot of profit taking, in shorts taking positions, begin to pull back. Soon as it hit that middle Bollinger Band, a lot of buying power, with slight pullback on low volume. And then as you can see, it's starting to consolidate above its middle Bollinger Band and it's holding sideways. What is the RSI doing? It's still above that 50 and it's trending sideways, starting to cross above its two averages again. So do I think I keep saying Netflix. Do I think Tesla is selling out? No, I do not. I think there is some accumulation happening right in this price range. And what you're going to get is you're going to get one last attempt from this 730 back up to that 913, give or take probably 968. I honestly think the bulls are going to try to run Tesla to 1,000, and then it's going to sell off completely, and then we'll leave Tesla alone for quite some time. But I honestly don't think the bulls are done with this one. I think they honestly want to try to run this up to 1K, and then once they get it up to 1K, then from there to sell off, and it'll probably take a couple of weeks to cool off. But Tesla is not done. So on a 2-hour time frame, the trend is still very strong. It's above its middle Bollinger Band. The PMO is still in positive territory and above its two averages. The RSI is still holding above 50 and it's starting to trend sideways. So I think Tesla is going to have another run. If we zoom in from the 2-hour to the 30-minute chart, you can see this consolidation in a more fine line detail. Okay, so as you can see on the 30-minute chart, Tesla bull pull back and it's been moving sideways, consolidating in that price range, give or take of 732 to 761, holding pretty well. Now the PMO, although it has crossed below both its averages, it is still in positive territory, sitting at 1.41. It is nowhere below the zero line, and it's beginning to flatten out. Okay, so what we want to see is this PMO flatten out and then it start to curl back up. Now the Bollinger Band width is very low, which shows that the band is constricting and volatility is very low. All right, again, volatility is cyclical. So whether it's low volatility, high volatility will follow. Whether it's high volatility, low volatility will follow. Okay, so low volatility, high volatility is soon to follow, which means a breakout. Now, would that breakout be to the upside or downside? Again, on the 30-minute chart, looking at it, price action is consolidating sideways. It's above its middle Bollinger Band. RSI dipped all the way down, but now it's consolidating and moving sideways above its averages to make another run to the upside. And the Shanghai trend meter is trending sideways, converging on its moving averages. So Tesla is about to make another run. All right, so we'll definitely play calls on Tesla. If I were to make an entry, I would probably look at some 730 calls. I would probably see if we can get Tesla to dip back down to 730, so that way you can get those calls a little cheaper. Right now Tesla's sitting at 748, so if Tesla dips back down to 730 and holds above, I would definitely look at trying to take some 730 calls on Tesla for whatever time frame or time horizon you want to hold it for, and prepare for this run back up, because the bulls need to break through 822, and then they need to break through 913. And once they break through those intraday resistance sitting on the 2-hour chart, then I believe the bulls will attempt to try to push Tesla to 1,000 before the sell-off completely takes control and Tesla normalizes back into its regular prices. So Tesla's on watch for call options. All right, MNK. Now MNK, this one is good for a swing. I'm also playing call options on MNK this week for some quick profit. Looking at ticker MNK, you can see it's been on this uptrend as it's recovering from this weekly sell-off here. It began trending up, breaking above that 1 standard deviation lower Bollinger Band to show that the momentum shifted here on a weekly time frame, and then it's creating higher highs and higher lows on each push. Broke above that middle Bollinger Band, tried the 1 standard top deviation Bollinger Band, immediately sold off with some profit taking, light selling. As you can see, the volume began to decrease on the selling, and then buyers came in last week immediately to try to push back into those resistance areas of 515, which is the 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band, which it broke above and closed at 528. And now we're attempting to try to break above 648 on a weekly Bollinger Band. Now, looking at this on the daily, is the stock in a strong uptrend? Yes, it finally hit all the parameters we're looking at. PMO positive above both its moving averages. The price action again had broke out of this sideways consolidation, and then as it pulled back, it held above its middle Bollinger Band, the 30-minute, not the 30-minute, excuse me, its middle Bollinger Band, the 30 SMA, and then the RSI again, even on this pullback, held above 50 to show that the trend is still intact, and it has broke back above its averages, with the Shande showing that the trend is still strong as it's in the green zone. Okay, so MNK, we know. Again, we have a strong feeling based off the technical analysis is it's going to attempt its weekly resistance sitting at 648, which is the next line of resistance. If we zoom into the 2-hour chart, you could see this run up in a finer detail again as the PMO begin to curl up, giving us that early warning. The RSI holding above its averages. Got that early warning with the Bollinger Band with low showing that a breakout is about to occur. And then you have to run up again. Now, as it began to pull back, consolidating between that 441 and that 514, the price action has been creating higher highs on the intraday 2-hour time frame. So 514, 530, 549, and each pullback is holding above its 1 standard deviation top Bollinger Band, which reflects that the price is in a strong uptrend. All right, so what we're looking at now is that the price action holds above 514 and then creates another higher high as we push into that 648 resistance going into the week. Now the 30-minute PMO, as we zoom in a little bit further from the 2-hour time frame, although the 2-hour time frame is in positive territory, as far as PMO, it is trying to break back above its averages. So as you can see, the 30-period SMA is beginning to converge on top of the PMO, so we want to see that break above and then a break back above its 75 SMA to show that the trend is strong. Now, if we zoom in on the 30-minute chart, we see that that sell-off from 642. Here, again, you get early warnings. As you zoom in further, you can see the PMO had begun falling below its averages, and that gives you an early warning to get out of stock. But now the PMO, although it pulled back, it flattened out right around that zero line, and now it's broken back above its 2 averages to show that the trend is moving back into an upward trend, and the Bollinger Band width is below its average, showing that a breakout is going to happen here soon. RSI still holding above 50 and 40, and the Shande is still very strong, holding above its averages. So the ticker MNK looks very good for a breakout to push into that 648 arena to attempt that line of resistance on the weekly Bollinger Band. All right, we took a position in ticker MNK. We took some February 20th calls at 30 cents, and then we took some more February 20th calls at 35 cents to average out our price range right around 33 once you add in the option fees and everything for trading options. So we're looking at about a 33-cent average. These options closed out on Friday at 45, so at 45 cents. So we're already looking at a 36% profit on these call options, and they're just beginning to break out and attempt that 648. But again, we took 550 strike price. So again, MMK looks very good. All right, and last but not least is ticker GBTC. Now, ticker GBTC doesn't do options. The only reason I'm going to talk about ticker GBTC is because it follows Bitcoin to a T. Okay, it is a Bitcoin trust fund, a legit Bitcoin trust fund, and it follows Bitcoin to a T. So for those of you who do not understand Bitcoin and does not have an encrypted wallet and hasn't actually bought the cryptocurrency, but you still want to make a profit on it, then GBTC is a good way to follow the price action. Okay, as you can see, when Bitcoin had that run, GBTC followed it when it started off at 23 cents and ran up to $38. Remember, Bitcoin had that pullback, slight consolidation, and then it had that run going into early 2019 and then began pulling back, and now Bitcoin is starting to break out because it trades 24 hours. So if we look at GBTC on a weekly basis, which follows Bitcoin, as you can see here, the Bollinger Band width is very low, showing that the bands are constricting, showing that a breakout is bound to happen here soon. Where low volatility is, high volatility is soon to follow. So as you can see here, even though the RSI pulled back, it held above that 40, as you can see here, and has broken back out above its 2 averages. And the Sunday trend meter, even though it fell out of the green and went into the yellow zone, that just shows that the price action is either in a weak, very weak downtrend, or the price action is consolidating. And as you can see here, was in a very weak downtrend and now is consolidating as the Sunday begins to trend back up. So Bitcoin is about to have a major breakout. It already broke out above 10,000 when I was driving back here to get home from the road trip. I looked at my phone and got an alert showing that Bitcoin broke out over 10,000. So Bitcoin is about to have another strong run, which means GBTC is going to follow. All right, as you can see here, early indicators back in 2019 in March of the price action, PMO broke out above both its averages. When it finally hit that positive territory, that's when we started looking, and then that's when Bitcoin had its run. All right, now as Bitcoin began to pull back, when it had its run again, price action, each time it pulled back above 40 to 50, above 40 to 50, above 40 to 50. And then as the PMO crossed below its 2 averages, we knew that the momentum was shifting, and that was our time to get out. And then the price action pulled back on consolidating. The RSI shifted from holding above 40 to 50 to now struggling to break above 50 and break above 60. All right, each time below 50. Now RSI is finally broken back above 50 and holding, and broke above 60. All right, which shows that the momentum is shifting, and the Sunday is beginning to shift back up into the green zone, showing that GBTC is going into a strong uptrend. Even your PMO, which was below its averages the entire time, which we didn't pay any attention to, has now broken above its averages and moved back into positive territory. So GBTC is going to move with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is going to make a very strong move in 2020. So if you want to make money off of Bitcoin, but you don't know how as far as buying cryptocurrencies, then GBTC is a good way to follow that said price action and to get a piece of the action when Bitcoin makes its move here in the first half of 2020. So definitely a good play. As you can see, all indicators are pointing to a strong run here happening soon. At a minimum, Bitcoin is going to reattempt its highs of, I believe, was 19,000, which means GBTC will follow and reattempt its highs of $17. So if you begin trying to make entries now, you could possibly get a 50% return on this trade, if not 65 to 70% return if you position yourself just right. So again, remember, GBTC follows Bitcoin to a T, so make sure you watch Bitcoin because it trades 24 hours a day. All right, so if Bitcoin has a strong run overnight, then that means GBTC will gap up the following morning, just like gold trades 24 hours a day. All right, again, man, TTM Trades, I'm out. Plays for the week: Beyond Meat, Bloom Energy, MNK, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, Netflix, and Tesla. All right, share this video, leave a comment, hit that like button, and let me know what stocks you want me to talk about as far as our daily reviews going into the rest of this week. Till next time, I'm out.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.